the creator in the press.
Thank you. Love your shirt.
How are you enjoying your con so far?
It's been a very interesting con. I am on double strike, so I'm here really in a very narrow pocket to support this audio project, which is allowed through the strike, but my heart is on the strike line with my fellow actors and writers, and I'm just hoping. Thank you so much. Pencils down. That's right. Yeah.
It's fascinating how much new titles through Audible, through all the audio companies, are just expanding the horizon for everybody. I mean, like, for example, the strike for cameras and whatnot, but I feel like with stories, I think somebody said it, like, we consume too much on a daily basis, and to be frank, prices are going out the wazoo for film and for TV. This is becoming what, film used to be, where it's an affordable thing. Anybody can access it, people can experience it in multiple ways. When you're creating, is that something that you take into account, or are you just like in the zone, letting go, and how much do you have to pay?
I mean, I'm certainly known as somebody who works in alternative media, only because I want to tell the story the way I want to tell it, and in general, Hollywood just want to tell my stories. I've pitched a lot. I've developed quite a bit of IP, of my own IP, of other people's IP. It was not a great experience for me as a writer because I just like making stuff and releasing it. And so this is the opportunity for me to tell a story about characters I love and be able to make it the way I wanted to make it. And, I did a lot in the web series world as a producer, a writer, an actor. That world doesn't really exist anymore. You really can't make affordable, low budget. You just can't do it anymore. It's just not there. The audience isn't there. It's just a different world, which is fantastic. It's fine. The life moves on. But so this particular project, I believe this is the best version of what the project could be, because I don't think the story the way I wanted to tell it would have ever made it through the Hollywood development process to make it this way.
I'm happy you got it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. It's over 400 pages of material. It took 5 years to write. It's definitely filled my COVID days with as much joy as I could get. And it really is a love letter to everything I love it, taking in, like fantasy, comedy, adventure. It's everything I love.
Where do I start? Your resume, it speaks for itself, and let's just make this a coffee setting right here.
Okay, great.
I'm super curious. What goes through your mind when you're thinking about your next project? Because you really have checked off every box. So you just sitting around having a cup of coffee right now, knowing that you're generating more thoughts, more ideas. Just talk me through those moments when you're almost self-reflecting in terms of your creativity.
I think the best stories are you just have to tell them. And I found, when I first started writing, I was not an easy writer. It was panic time all the time. And I wrote even a book, Embrace Your Weird. It was a self-help book about getting your creativity out there, which was kind of to myself, because I was having so many issues with burnout and figuring out who I was as a writer and a person, and after having a baby, like 18 things. And so, to me, what I've latched on in the last 5 years, when I believe I've become a really good writer, is that I have to tell the story, and it's about a character's journey that's personal to me. And so, this character in Third Eye it's a failed prodigy. It's a girl, a woman who was supposed to save the world, and she didn't. And as somebody who played the violin from 2.5 on, and who was a prodigy of the internet, and always had all this expectation put on there that you could never live up to, feeling the failure of like going off the cliff of not being what everybody thought you were is devastating. And it took a lot of time for me to overcome that. And I really put that into here because it really parallels this trope that we're all really familiar with. So for me, like every character, it's about character. And so my next project, I have a graphic novel I'm working on that I finished pretty much. And then I have a novel that I'm working on and a musical that I have. But I'm like, what is the character? Why do I have to tell her story? Because usually it's a her. It really is that. And I think creativity is so hard, and it's so hard to finish anything. You have to have something personal to get you through it, to get you through the end, so you can rewrite it over and over again.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I saw your finger.
loved the first episode that we got to hear. It was amazing.
Oh, great, thanks.
Hilarious. The thing that struck me about it most was you mentioned the child prodigy thing, and in Chosen One stories, it's always a young person. Mm-hmm. And what I loved about this is that, yeah, we spend some time in the beginning with a 10-year-old, but really it's about this woman who is the chosen one and keeps being the chosen one. I'd love to hear you talk more about that, like the idea that kids are supposed to fail, but that we get better as adults. Like how much of that comes into play with this?
I mean, once you hear all the episodes, you will see that is definitely a process, and that is definitely a lesson. But it's also about being a value for yourself and not your achievements, because that's, the prodigy syndrome. It's like you're only based on how good your piano or whatever it is, artistry. How do you live up to that when you're not extraordinary in that way? I feel like that is a big theme for me, and I really wanted to embody that in the project. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, but also it's as a woman who Hollywood, there are not as many roles for somebody my age, which is crazy. I'm not really that old, but you do as a woman see a real shift in your career and the way the world perceives you. And I wanted to be like, I'm not going away. Like, I'm not going to just back off so that you can tell the story of the 20-year-old version of this. You can't reboot, this other property with a bunch of 19-year-olds. I'm not interested. And what was key to this story, though, is the relationship between Laurel and Kate. Kate, who's a teenager who comes in and really has to figure out how to be guided in this world in a way, but not having the mentor have to step away. It really is a shared story, and it's a parable for me, like, I think modern fiction and even going back to fairy tales of evil stepmothers, women who are older have to step out of the way to have a young woman actualize herself. And I think that's a really misogynist construct that keeps women apart and keeps them being enemies and seeing older women as either irrelevant or not someone to learn from or be friends with or associate with. An older woman has to step aside for that younger woman. And I think that's just to control women, right? Because if we're unified, we get things done, And so that's something I really wanted to embody in this and not have it be, it's an equal journey for both of them. So you can be on the younger person's journey, you can be on the older person's journey, and they're a team.
Do you have any advice for female writers in terms of breaking that type of construct that could keep people limited to like stories like this?
I mean, I think if you look at the aggregate, the last 5 years has been really great in liberating a lot of stories and telling different ones. I guess my advice to anyone telling stories is make sure you're doing it make sure you're making the story personal to you, not trying to please a system to try to get through it. Tell stories and tell them the way you want to tell them. Tell them any way you can. Like, I've made my name making videos in my closet, right? Hopefully this is a big success. If not, I still made it, right? And I couldn't get it through Hollywood, and I spent years wasting stories and time on development. And this is why my heart goes out to every WGA member, like what they have to go through to get anything made, and the fact that they're being devalued now by the producers who literally don't have anything without that script is really awful. And so that's kind of why I've stopped doing those kind of jobs, because my heart couldn't take it. I would get so personal with my stories, and I think that's the only way you make something that lasts. And also, even if only one other person is affected by it, that's the reason why that story and that character exists. So, I would recommend just making things. And there's no excuse at this point. You can record something. You can shoot something with a phone. Like, you can do a webcomic. It's a wonderful time. It's a wonderful time to be a creator. Even though it's a lot of content out there, you can make your stuff, and that's your job.
What do you think about the impact that your story is having on the vision impaired who can't access this kind of a story, and that now that this kind of platform of it is offering a way to tell a story for people who maybe are vision impaired to be able to witness and experience this story?
I mean, it's incredible, and it's been a wonderful lesson in storytelling for me to think about storytelling without visuals. As an actor, as a writer, trying to convey a sense of place, relationship, action. And, it took a lot of writing. It's not the same kind of writing for TV as it would be for audio. I have to explain a lot, but I don't want it to feel like exposition. I want to give somebody the impression that how do we paint a battle with nothing? Like, it has been, and I have to say that Mumble the production company who was doing a lot of the editing and the sound design and the soundtrack, which is incredible. Like, that attention to detail is made this like one of the most special projects I've worked on. So I really am grateful and I'm empathetic, and I would love to do it again. Thank you. Yeah.
So you're promoting this thing that you've created. Are you planning on hunting anything down at the floor, or you're like, you know what, it's like...
No, I was at preview night 2 hours last night. I even made a video. I think I uploaded it. I bought a lot of dice. I really did shop for my daughter a little bit more. She's 6 years old. Because my trinkets and my statues and my comics shelf are full. I got a couple of books for myself, but mostly I got stuff for her that we can actually share together. The wonderful thing is she's 6, and now some of the stuff I want to read, she can read. So it's like we're sharing it, and it's like the best moment ever.
Okay, great, awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you went that direction, because like I do consider you like the OG content creator, and as we see now, content creators are realizing that there's different space in artistry. What's sort of your message to the folks who may not have thought there was a path to go a specific way, but now are seeing that the world is much bigger than they imagined?
Yeah, what I think is wonderful is that a lot of the times people think that content that they can release immediately is a ticket to Hollywood, which is not necessarily the same. Like, you can look at my career. Like, not everything I did got lifted up to that vaunted, level. But at the same time, I'm here and I'm making a living. I have a career. And the wonderful thing is, as the years have gone by, people can make a living in many different ways. So you don't have to tailor your creativity to Hollywood. It's a different world. And yes, that's great if you can fit in there, but don't only put yourself in a box to please that business, because that's not a business that embraces everything. And if you're a creator that's a little bit outside the box, don't try to change yourself completely to fit in that box, because your stories still need to be told the way you need to tell them.
We're going back there.
Thank you.